Hey everyone, today I am planting up my square foot garden for fall. I'm getting a little bit of a head start with some of these varieties that are a little bit more heat tolerant. I love having lettuce in the garden, and so I usually end up going a little bit of the summer without it. But I'm ready to plant some up. I've got two varieties today, and I'm going to show you how to plant them into the square foot gardening. So this is the raised beds, and so they are 4 feet wide, and they're actually 12 feet long. And so when you're doing square foot gardening, typically you start with a 4x4 bed and you think of it as squares. So in a 4x4 foot bed, there are 16 different squares. And so you can plant inside of those 1 foot by 1 foot squares. And so if you're gonna imagine, that's what I have here. I actually don't have mine set out with the grid, so you just kind of have to imagine the little squares that I'm planting, and you can plant inside of those certain numbers of seeds depending on the spacing of your varieties. The great thing about square foot gardening is you know, there's no weeds and it's easier to manage. You can fit more in a small space, and it's easier to water. It's easier to manage for pest control, for disease control. You have everything right here. You can fit a whole lot more. The only downside is getting it going is a little bit more expensive, but it lasts. And then all you have to do is amend the soil each year and just keep those good nutrients in there. So imagine this is set up by squares here. And so I'm going to start with I'll start with the Vivian lettuce. This is more like almost like a romaine. It's going to grow more upright, and so these I can fit 4 per square. The spacing on them is 6 inches, so 4 per square should be good. And so I just usually take my hand and I kind of make my squares. So I just kind of draw a line in the dirt. I know that's halfway, and so then I come in between that, and while I'm planting, because I want to get the spacing right, I dig my hand and kind of mark it out, so that way I know where my squares are. I'm going to be planting my lettuce in here, and I'm actually going to be doing this as a succession planting in case it does bolt. I'm not using all of my seed at once, and then all of it is not ready to be picked at once either. So you can do it anywhere from 10 to 14 days. I'll plant another couple squares of this lettuce in case it does bolt. Then I know that I've got more coming. I can pull this, feed it to the animals, and then plant this square up again with some lettuce through fall. And then as we get into some cooler temperatures, it won't bolt quite as quick. But these varieties, like I said, they don't bolt quite as quick anyways. So 4 per square, these are some pretty tiny seeds. So I'm going to take, because these get a little bit taller, I'm going to do them towards the back. And my tomatoes are here growing up the trellis, so I'm actually going to steal some of that space in where it's planted too, because I planted it up against. So I can actually steal some of the space there, and I'll probably put 2 in that square. So what you want to do is, if you're imagining the square, I do 4. So I'm kind of coming evenly around that square to plant it up. So I'm going to do all of the back squares here. So I've got 4 of them. I'm going to put 4 in each 1 foot space. Okay, and then once I get my 4 planted, I cover it up. I'm putting 2 seeds in each hole just because this packet is so huge, but and then I'll come back and thin them out if they come up too thick. The other great thing about square foot gardening is when you plant them, you know what you've planted there and you know how many are supposed to come up. And so if something doesn't come up, so you're not wasting seeds. Most seedling packets say to thin. You plant heavier and then you go back and you thin them. With square foot gardening, you can do like I said, I did 2 per square just to go ahead and get it going, but you can do 1 per hole is what I meant. And if it doesn't come up in the packet at the time it says that on the packet, you can go put another seed in there because you know that one didn't germinate. So you're not wasting seeds and you're not coming back and thinning, you're just seeing where they're coming up. So, alright, so now I have a Butter Crunch lettuce, and this one, the spacing on the back says 10 to 12 inches. So I'm going to do 1 per square foot. These get kind of bigger and wider, and so they'll take up more space rather than coming upright like the Vivian lettuce that I just planted. So again, with my 4 squares in the front, I'm going to do a hole right in the center instead of 4 like I did for the lettuce. So I'm doing a hole right in the center, and I'm going to put 1 seed. These are some tiny seeds. If you can ever get a seed in a pelleted form, do it, because they are so much easier to work with. So I'm just putting 1 seed right in the center of each square. And then all that's left to do is water it in. So these will come up in about a week or so. I think both of them are 7 to 10 days and 7 to 10 days. So we should have some lettuce here soon, and then so like I said, I'm going to succession plant. So once these come up, that will give me these to harvest, and then I will pick some other squares in and around my garden and plant those up in another week or so, and so that way I have a continual harvest of lettuce. So I hope this is helpful. If you want to learn more about square foot gardening, you can check out some of the other videos that I have, and we'll see you soon.